All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. First thing that I would like to bring to your attention is over in Google Classroom. You'll see that at 7:27 this morning, I posted a new homework assignment titled GMAW3 Equipment. It says complete the following sections using the Miller Open Book website and complete the questions in the Google form. And that would be equipment. So when you go to the Miller Open Book website, you'll click on the lesson that says equipment. You'll go through that and you'll answer the questions in this form. It is due by 11:59 p.m. October 30th. So that is by midnight Friday. You need to have that done. A lot of you are falling behind in your homework right now, and that's being reflected in your grades. Make sure that you're getting this stuff done on time. With that being said, and that this being our new unit for now, we are going to head over and we are going to do a short little presentation on this. We'll go through it. You guys should have plenty of time at the end of this class to complete this assignment. Does anybody have any questions thus far? If not,
Oh yeah, didn't the tech ed department wasn't it able to get people to come in at like 10 at a time and do actual stuff?
I'm working on that.
All right.
Yeah, I'm working on that. Don't worry, guys. Let's see here. We're right here. Okay. So GMAW3 equipment. Our objectives. Upon completion of this unit, we shall be able to identify components of a GMAW system, explain the difference between constant current and constant voltage welding output, and we'll also be able to understand duty cycle. There are four major components that complete a GMAW system. A welding power source to supply welding secondary power, a wire feeder to deliver the wire to the weld pool, a shielding gas system to ensure adequate gas coverage, and a MIG gun to bring everything together to make a weld. On a lot of the smaller stuff, the wire feeder is actually inside of the welding power source. You will see that on all of our Lincoln MIG welders. The wire is actually inside of the welding power source. If you remember the big blue one that I have on wheels, they are two separate things where the wire feeder is on top of the machine. So those are kind of just the two main differences. There are some remote systems where you have your welding power source and then your wire feeder is actually on like a cart and you can wheel the cart around, just having the wire feeder, and then your welding power source stays in one place. Those are also a pretty common system in more heavier manufacturing facilities. GMAW welding power supplies. To properly perform gas metal arc welding, a welding power source that delivers constant voltage, direct current output is required. The DC constant voltage welding power source is sometimes called a constant potential CP machine. The constant voltage machine adjusts the voltage. Since voltage is directly proportional to arc length, setting the voltage essentially establishes the arc length and allows the wire feed speed to remain at a constant speed. For the voltage sensing wire feeder to maintain a consistent arc length, it needs a constant voltage welding output. Otherwise, the wire speed will speed up and down, causing potential weld defects. So, constant voltage is what we are aiming for with these machines. And it sets our arc. We find out where our machine welds best with our certain arc length, and then we kind of stick to that. It's constant, it doesn't fluctuate, which means that our wire speed stays the same. All we do is we adjust our arc length to get within kind of that butter zone of the wire speed and the machine voltage. It's a bit of a balancing act, I guess you could say. Constant current welding output. Constant current type welding power source can be used if a voltage sensing wire feeder is used. Constant current machines adjust the current or amperage. Constant current GMAW arc can only deliver a spray or globular transfer. Constant current is generally not recommended for GMAW and could be in violation of welding codes, especially for seismic requirements. If a constant current welding power source is used, then maintaining a consistent arc length becomes difficult. Because the constant current welding power source produces a constant amperage, the voltage and wire feed change constantly, contributing to a number of potential weld defects. Avoid using constant current welding power sources for GMAW, especially for seismic welding applications, and to ensure that code requirements are met. So constant current would be more of a surging, where your wire speed would constantly change. It's just, I've never seen one before. I've never used one before. I cannot attest to how bad it is. But when they're telling you, hey, don't use these machines, they typically mean, hey, don't try to use these machines. There are 4 types of welding power sources typically used for GMAW. We have the conventional transformer rectifier. We have the inverter, the secondary switching, and the engine driven. This right here is what our big blue one is. It's a conventional transformer rectifier. And then our little Lincolns, I do believe, are inverter style. I'm not sure on the secondary switching, and of course, engine driven. That's pretty self-explanatory. GMAW equipment, transformer rectifier. I guess we're going to go into those. Referred to as a conventional welding power source, it converts the high voltage, low amperage primary input power to low voltage, high amperage secondary welding power. It may require single phase or 3-phase primary power input, depending on how many were manufactured and designed, or how they were manufactured and designed. Light welding, low output needs of about 200 amps or less, is generally performed with conventional single-phase welding power sources using 115 volt AC or 230 volt 3-phase power, since sources often have capacities above 200 amps. A transformer rectifier welding power source, also referred to as conventional welding power source, converts the high voltage, low amperage primary input power to low voltage, high amperage secondary power. On a conventional welding power source, the primary AC input power passes through a step-down transformer that converts the high voltage, low amperage AC primary power to a low voltage, high amperage AC power. The electricity then passes through a control circuit that adjusts how much of the input power is needed based on the operator's setting. Then the electricity is rectified or changed from AC to DC welding power. This rectified DC welding power is finally filtered to make it smoother DC current to make a weld. There's a lot going on inside that machine when we pull that trigger. Inverter power supplies also convert the high voltage, low amperage primary power to a low voltage, high amperage secondary welding power, but they do it in a different way than a conventional welding power source does. Inverter power supplies use less energy because they operate more efficiently. They generate less heat loss because they operate at such a high internal operating frequency, operating at about 250,000 hertz generates less heat in the physical components of a welding power source, allowing higher current levels to pass through smaller components. Inverters are much smaller and lighter because of the way power is controlled inside of the machine. This controlled power allows engineers to also control and change how the power exits the machine. With high operating frequencies, the inverter machine can change its output very fast for processes like pulsed, gas metal arc welding, GMAWP. In GMAWP, the amperage changes up to 500 amps over 100 times per second. This fast change in amperage requires a welding power source that can quickly make the amperage adjustment within milliseconds. Where a conventional machine operating at 60 Hz could not make the amperage change fast enough to provide the fine control that GMAW pulse requires. That was this one, sorry. I thought I changed it. There's another type of welding power source that is half conventional and half inverter called a secondary switching welding power source. The primary AC input power passes through a step-down transformer that converts the high voltage, low amperage AC primary power to a low voltage, high amperage AC power. The electricity is then rectified or changed from AC to DC welding power. The power is then filtered to smooth out the DC current. Up to this point, the power was managed by conventional welding power source components. Now comes the secondary switching part that uses the same types of components used in an inverter. The power is sent through a switching device called an IGBT. The IGBTs simply turn the DC power on and off at frequencies similar to an inverter, thus controlling the output by varying the percentage of on time versus off time. The power is then sent through a stabilizer, which smooths out the power for welding. This gives us multi-process capability and arc characteristics similar to inverter machines. It should be noted that the efficiency of this technology is considerably better than a conventional machine, but not quite as efficient as an inverter. Engine driven. The welding output of engine-driven power welding sources can be like an inverter or a conventional welding power source, depending on how it is designed. The generator that the engine turns essentially can produce power like that from the power company to supply an internally mounted inverter, or it can produce low voltage, high amperage power like the output of a step-down transformer using a conventional welding power source. Engine-driven power supplies are very portable and are used in locations where power is simply not available. Duty cycle. Duty cycle is a tool used to determine how a machine can perform for a specific job requirement. This is a standard set by the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. Duty cycle is based on how a welding power source can produce a given amperage at a given voltage in a 10-minute period of time before it needs to cool down. For example, a machine with a 60% duty cycle at 300 amps and 32 volts of welding output can be used at 32 volts and 300 amps for 6 minutes out of a 10-minute period. For the remaining 4 minutes, the machine must be allowed to idle to permit proper cooling. Most welding power sources are manufactured with duty cycles ranging from 20% to 100%. Our figure here shows a duty cycle chart, which includes output ratings for machines ranging from 200 to 600 amps, each having a 60% duty cycle. The chart shows that if a welding amperage is decreased, the duty cycle will increase because the welding power source is not heating up as much when less power is being moved through it. On the other hand, when the power demand is increased, the duty cycle will decrease. Remember, duty cycle does not mean operating a welding power source for 6 minutes and then turning it off. It is important for the internal cooling fan can properly continue to cool the unit properly. The duty cycle of a welding power source is not the same as the operating factor used to determine welding cost. Operating factor is the operator's ability to keep the arc on when the duty cycle is the machine's ability to keep the arc on before it needs to cool down. Many welding power sources used with GMAW process are rated at 100% duty cycle, as are many of the guns used with these welding power sources. However, Careful attention should always be paid to the duty cycle charts, especially if welding is to exceed the welding power source's rated output. When comparing two similar sized power supplies, it is very important to pay close attention to both the amperage and voltage values that determine the rated load. For example, a machine rated at 250 amps, 26 volts, 40% duty cycle, is not as powerful as a machine rated at 250 amps, 28 volts, 40% duty cycle. There's about a 7% difference in output power capability between the two machines. Selecting the right welding power source. With many types of power supplies available, consider the following to select the best machine for the application. Welding power required, duty cycle, process capabilities, remote control capability, portability needs, primary power available. Selecting any tool or equipment to operate at its 80% output level will maximize the tool's life and will strike the balance of not buying something that is too big, costing more, or something that is too small, downtime and overheating. Allow for room to increase the operator's efficiency, keeping the arc on longer through the day to make more welds in less time, or increase the amperage to make welds faster, or requiring the purchase of new machine before its expected replacement time. Purchasing a machine that produces 250 amps at 60% duty cycle may work for an application that welds at 250 amps, but may be a bad choice. Manufacturing operation may increase at may raise your human duty cycle operating factor beyond the duty cycle of the machine at the rated output. So we need to make sure that if we're going to buy a machine, we're not only buying it for what we need it for, but what we could potentially need it for. All right. So that was our little presentation on mostly talking about duty cycle and the types of machines that are available to us out there. It is my goal that on our short class time on Wednesday, I'll be back there with the MIG welding machine, uh, doing some demos and things like that. And then, yes, I am working on coming up with a system to get you guys in during the day for some hands-on experience. The problem with that is I have a grand total of 3 welding classes that I need to kind of figure out how to schedule. There's 60 kids that I need to somehow cram in here over the course of a week. So just give me a little bit of time to really figure that part out. I will be posting in Google Classroom later an extra credit opportunity for some of you guys in here that would be a requirement for you to come in and help me do some things around the classroom. That I don't have to schedule too much, so kind of keep an eye out for that as well. All right, so looking at my schedule here, it looks like we are here together until 9:25. At 9:25 is when we switch over to asynchronous learning. So what I would like for you guys to do is, while we are still together, get your homework done so that I don't have notifications at 11 o'clock at night that someone's turned in a homework assignment 3 days late. I'm giving you guys all an opportunity to get it done now. If you have any questions for me, I'll be right here to answer them. But I would like to see you guys working on this work now.